acá, Mumbo Jumbo.
Hello, it's Spazzy, and welcome to the first episode of Hobby Havoc. Today, we're working on Dollz with a Z. So, as you can see, I am using the Wayback Machine to make dolls. Now, dolls were a super popular thing in the early 2000s. Sadly, a lot of the sites have died, which just sucks. There's lots of modern dress-up games these days, but the thing about dolls was they were pixel art, so that made them interesting. Oh god. So, there's a lot to just, ramble about. So, essentially, this journey started because I wanted to play the doll makers that I used to play a lot as a kid growing up. And as a young boy, I spent countless hours on Sabrina's Candy Dolls, which is what's playing in the background at the moment that I am speaking right now. And, so I went online, I looked around, and I was able to use the Wayback Machine to find a whole bunch of sites that I used to peruse as a young lad. And in the description below, if you want to make dolls after you're done watching this video, or while you're watching it, or you don't even have to watch it, you can just go make dolls, there's gonna be tons of links down there. So, with me using the Wayback Machine, and also there was a very, very useful list on Reddit, which I do not like Reddit. I found this list because I was on Google searching for dolls, lists of dolls sites that I could still access, and there's a Reddit master post. I'm not gonna link the Reddit master post because I don't fucking like Reddit, but if you go on Google and you search dolls with a Z master list, you will more than likely find that Reddit post. But like I said, I'll be linking tons of sites and resources in the description. So, I'm gonna have a master list of my own, basically. Now, dolls. What the fuck are they? I don't have a whole history lesson prepared for you. I know that some people that make videos, they sort of have, a whole history, and they can tell you lots about it. Like, for example, Lee Speaks does great stuff on their channel about, Bratz and Mycene and everything, and they're wonderful. Go watch them. They are more informed than I will ever be. But dolls specifically, I didn't research. This wasn't supposed to be a research episode. This was just supposed to be me sharing a hobby that I like to do and talking about it and telling you as a general consumer. What the fuck am I talking about? Just as a general person, consuming media, I guess, that, how, what I know and how I feel about it. So, when I was a lot younger, dolls, like I said, were super popular. I mean, people used them on their MySpace, people used them as banners, as, I don't even know, decoration on websites, decoration on blogs, stamps, I mean, just tons of shit. There's different types of dolls. There's a whole plethora of dolls, a whole fucking plethora of them. The most, sort of online doll that you'll see are called preps, uniques, or shoonies. These are sort of I would call them American-y dolls. They have a very fashion-y look to them, and that's sort of the one that you would see a lot of people using back then, and making and sharing, and people would print them out and put them into binders, or different stuff like that. For me, I'm not a super big fan of the unique shoonie / preps style. I am a big fan of Candy Dolls, which is the Korean style, which is what Sabrina's site has, and also just a few other makers, which I'll discuss in a minute. Candy Dolls are the Korean style of the sort of pixel dolls online stuff, and I'm a super huge fan of the way it looks because I think it's super cute and animated and interesting, and the art is much more appealing to me and just looks more detailed. Other makers, there's Say Club, which is a huge Korean maker, which is also another like very detailed looking doll maker. There's Buddy Buddy, there's Candy Dolls, like I said, which is like the sort of one that is on Sabrina's site. There's Spritekins, which are sort of like smaller, like more squished down types of dolls. You know, there's the Patience, which is sort of like a semi like Korean-y anime-esque art style, but like not 100%. There's a bunch of Chazzy dress-ups on dollzmania.com. There's Brat style dress-ups. You know, there's like so many. I know that there's other types as well that aren't listed in my list, so if I missed a doll type that's like your favorite, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is, you know. But there's tons of different types of dolls, and essentially like the different types are just the different art styles, you know. Like, you know, the only difference between a preppy, unique, and palace and a baby and a fucking a Chazzy is just the art style of the doll. I mean, that's essentially what it is, but back then you would just like be like, these are the types, you know. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of different art styles of doll makers, from all kinds of different body types and the way that they looked and what they had available in the doll maker itself. I mean, there's fantasy ones, there's monster ones, there's spring ones, there's NFL ones, there's ones based off Nicki Minaj, there's fairies, there's Winx Club, there's like anything popular, there's Bratz, there's Barbies, there's anything, there's just stuff, there's tons of shit everywhere. And like I said, I went on this journey because I really wanted to make dress-up dolls and sort of have a collection of ones that I really liked. And like I said, I spent most of my time for this video on Sabrina's site and on Dollz Mania, both of which are in Wayback Machine because they're no longer active. I think I mentioned this already, but I'm gonna have tons of links in the description, so you can get to the websites that I feature in this video to make dolls. You can. The one thing about Wayback Machine is sometimes images will not load. You might have to file through different captures on the top through the dates, or just refresh the page after it's done loading, because sometimes that will just encourage it to load. You just have to be patient. But more on the hobby. So one of the biggest reasons that I think I loved, like, specifically the Korean candy dolls as a kid, besides that I like anime and I'm a neurodivergent person, is because it inspired me in terms of art. These days it definitely inspires me in terms of character design, and also just, it's a good learning tool if you want to learn pixel art, because like it's all pixel art and it's all very good pixel art. So like if you want to learn how to shade in pixel art, you can study dolls. And as a kid, like, I used to make them, and for me personally, I never really printed them out to use them for anything, but I liked to save all the images, make collages and stuff, and use them in kids pics and all that fun stuff. And that's stuff I still do to this day, so nothing has changed. But throughout this video, you see me making just tons of different dolls and sort of just cataloging all the different outfits, just for reference, for people to look at, for me to look at. And also, in general, I wanted to sort of take the dolls I make into, I personally use Fire Alpaca, and you'll see throughout the video, like, I'm using Fire Alpaca to sort of get all the background out so that they can be clear, nice PNGs with no background so they can be used. Like, they're going to be used in this video. There's going to be tons of stuff all over the screen as I'm talking. And I'm going to be using all the dolls that I made in this video so that we can see them, and like, you know, it's gonna be a whole nice edited thing. So when it comes to the different sites that Dollz are on, now there's a bajillion, because everyone wanted to have their own doll hosting site. Anyone who's in the community wanted to have their own doll hosting site, it seems. But some of the main ones, personally for me, I used Sabrina's site a lot. I also use Dollz Mania a lot. Now, Dollz Mania is like a huge one, like one that people recognize and are sad that doesn't exist anymore. There also used to be a site called Elui, which was more of like the Korean type site, but that site, I never used it. Even though I like the Korean style makers, I never used Elui. Ever. There's also Say Club. Never used the Say Club site either. I got all of my Korean content from Sabrina's. From Sabrina's and from the few makers that are on Dollz Mania is where I got all my content from. There's a few, like, it's hard for me to be like, oh, you should go here and here, because, like I said, there's tons of people that host these sites, and it really depends on what you're looking for, because, like, some people will just have unique doll makers on their site that you can't find on other sites. Like, for example, some interesting doll makers aren't on Dollz Mania, and you can only find them by going to these specific archived sites, and trying to find all those archived sites in this day and age when they're not available online is quite hard to do. But there is, like I said, a sort of like archival site. They call themselves an archival site. That's sort of going on to preserve the legacy of Dollz Mania. Excuse me. God damn. At the moment, like in this day and age, it's a NeoCity site, I'm pretty sure. It's called pixeldolls.net. You can go to that on Google. Like, you can just Google pixeldolls.net, and it's an active site in this day and age. Like, it's actually being like run and looked after, and there's a good selection of dolls from Dollz Mania on there. Not everything is there, but there's a good selection of some of the stuff from Dollz Mania, because it is an archival project. Excuse me. I mean, there's so much shit. There's Doll's World. There's Blossom. There's Angel. There's a Gothmaker. There's, God, it's like how do you even navigate all this stuff? One thing to note though is if you're gonna be playing some of these sites, not all of them, but some of them need a like ruffle to work, just because they have a few flash elements. So you just install Ruffle and it'll be fine. But there's a web archive for Over the Moon, there's Style Dolls, there's Paka Dolls, Drag and Drop Land, Yumilicious, Easy Dolls, Thugs and Diva Dolls, Put Dolls, like Real Delusion, Freebies, Beetlecraft, Korean Dollies. Like, there's so many sites. Like, I can't sit here and just be like, oh yeah, this one's the one I recommend. You just kind of have to look around. You have to look around and figure out what style you like the most, and then look for those sites, which, like I said, on the Wayback Machine, like, you're just gonna have to, like, get an idea of what you're looking for. And also, when you find a working web page, especially in the doll sphere, like, a lot of them link to each other because it was a big community, so you can sort of, like, get around to different websites that way if the Wayback Machine has captures from those moments. So you can sort of figure out like where you want to go and what you're trying to get to from working Wayback Machine links, which is nice. One of the goals I had when I was sort of making the dolls for this video was to make as many different types of dolls as possible in terms of like style and how they looked. Like I just wanted to use all kinds of different options, and I didn't want to I tried. It was hard for some makers, but I tried as hard as I could to not use the same options twice. There are a few that are the same options multiple times just because it's what I had, but I tried my best to make a variety so that there was tons of different stuff. And the nice thing for me was there's lots of male options available in these makers. If you look for couple makers and stuff, you don't have to make a couple. You can just use the male options from the maker to make your own male dolls. You can use quote-unquote feminine outfits on the male dolls and just do whatever you want. You can make androgynous characters, males that are feminine, girls that are masculine. You can do a whole lot with these doll makers. Like throughout the video I do a lot where I just like combine things to make new things. Like I layered a skirt at one point under another skirt to make like a new skirt basically. And like you can do a lot of that stuff because, you know, at the end of the day these are just images that you're dragging around to assemble to make creations. And for I'd say like most of the time you can make like all kinds of shit. If I sat here for longer, which I already sat there for probably 9+ hours doing this, if I sat there for longer you could really just like make all manner of new combinations. Like some of the makers are set outfits, but for the ones where you get to build it yourself, you can do so much with those. Like you can do so much with them. You can make all kinds of stuff. But as you can see, like on screen, I'm working with a Korean doll maker at the moment, which I really liked this one a lot. And anytime I got done with things, I would just sort of go in, take out all the white space in Fire Alpaca, and then save the doll for later. And after I was done recording all of these, I cropped all the dolls out to use in this video. The combinations, like, especially in the candy dolls, like, there's just so much. There's so much. You could get lost. You could get lost for hours doing this. Like, sincerely, I personally, because of how I am and how I am mentally and stuff, like I hyper fixate, and I will hyper fixate and just do this for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end, which is it's fun, and I like aligning the pixels and like putting things where I want them to go and like making it look good. So it's really fun to me. And being able to have like all these different options, and there's thousands upon thousands of combinations depending on the doll maker that you use. You know, if you use the ones where you get to combine the clothes yourself, there's so many different types of characters that you can design. And the nice thing about these is you can use them as inspiration for art and stuff. Like, obviously I'm not saying don't steal art, you fuck, okay? Don't do that. But you can use them as inspiration for your own work. Like, you can use all these different things as inspiration for character design and other things. And that's the nice thing about this as well, is like if you're having trouble coming up with things or you're in burnout, like making dolls, at least for me, is really nice for my burnout. I've been going through a lot of burnout lately, and like making dolls has really helped me because it's been like, oh, like I can see like different types of hairstyles that maybe I wasn't trying that I'd like to try in my work, and different types of outfits and stuff, and different colors, combinations. So it helps me personally to get out of those like ruts I've been in by like making dolls. It is an artistic process. Obviously, you know, you're not drawing, so don't call yourself fucking Picasso, okay? But you know, you are working with like creative parts and assembling like new and interesting things. So like you're doing like a fun creative activity that can help like stimulate, you know, character design and other things. And you know, even if you're not an artist, making dolls is fun because, you know, you just get to make these cool little things and you can use them in projects. I mean, like I said earlier, people in the early 2000s used them on blogs a lot. I mean, if you have a blog, you can use them on there. And nowadays, as technology has obviously improved, it's a lot easier to crop and use dolls than it was back in the day. And, you know, so you can use them as, I mean, you can use them for whatever you want, as long as you're not claiming that you drew them or anything like that, because that's fucking scummy. But in the end, like, a lot of these dolls that I made, especially some of these, like, I think this was a Monster High maker that I'm using right now. This one was really inspiring for me to make some characters, and this Halloween one, especially this first character that I made right here, I was really inspired. I want to make him into like an actual OC. Like, obviously I'll change things up, so that's my own thing, but I really love the outcome of how he like turned out, so I really want to make him into an OC because I just really like him. I also went through like and did some edits on some of them, like sometimes with these doll makers, just because of the nature of it. I mean, it's like a community thing, it's not like a company thing. The nature of these doll makers, sometimes some of the pieces like don't quite fit right, or they're cropped a little weird, or they have like stray pixels like just kind of around. What I would do in the art program, like I said, I use Fire Alpaca, I would just go in and like edit that stuff. Like, I would take a brush, color pick the color from the actual like piece, like the hair or whatever, and I would just like fill it in with a pixel brush. That way, you know, you don't really see the little crusties everywhere, and if there were any stray pixels, I would just delete them with the eraser tool. And you can sort of do it that way. Like, you shouldn't be afraid to like have things look weird on your doll. Like, for example, if there's a pair of shoes that you want on a male doll that don't sort of fit the feet position, just use them anyway, because then when you go into an art program, you can just delete the extra pixels and you'll never know. Nobody will ever know. So that's what I did a lot, especially when I was making like dolls with the feminine clothes that I wanted to put on the male dolls. I would just sort of delete the extra pixels, that way they lined up and it looked nice. It's just as easy as that, really. And a lot of these couple makers I used to make LGBT couples. I never made a single straight couple because why would I? Why would I? The world is saturated by... No, I'm just kidding. But for me personally, I wanted to make gay couples. I made males, and then I would also make a female couple just to make sure it was even. Just to represent the different makers and the options and stuff. And I really liked this maker a lot, this one that I'm editing now. I liked this. This was a simple one because it was like just a head with like a body, but like I just liked the different options here, and they were really like all kinds of really interesting, and I just liked the way they looked. I don't know, I liked these different the different faces and the different outfits that were available. And one of the things, like, you can see I was doing is I'd pick out outfits and then heads, and I would just like figure out what head I wanted to go with which outfit, and then whatever head wasn't used would be sacrificed to the gods. That was one of my favorite things when I was making, because like some of these simpler ones I don't I would just like to put the outfits and then put the heads up on screen because they're simple. And when I would do that, I would just like put a bunch of heads and a bunch of outfits, and it was just funny to like try to match them up the way that I wanted them to be. Here's one where I made a gay couple to represent me. Hello. And you'll see in this, I use a pair of shoes that don't line up. You can see that right there. I use a pair of shoes that don't line up with his feet, but later I use a teddy bear to cover it so you wouldn't know anyway. And it still works, and I used like a quote-unquote feminine hairstyle on him, so you can do whatever the fuck you want, because you can always edit it and fix it later. So you can see I put the bear right there to cover that pixel, but you could also just edit it out. This one I really liked, this Valentine's maker. I really liked this one a lot. I know it just had like really nice options in it, and like I just liked putting them all together. It's fun to see the different things come together, because sometimes before you put them together you're just not sure what the hell you're doing or what it's gonna look like, but once you're done it can end up looking really nice, and I don't know, it's cool, it's fun, I like it. Like I ended up doing a lot of these where I would just put a bunch together on the same page and then edit them into single pixels later, because that just seemed easier. Because doing one at a time, I mean, sometimes you get done in like 5 minutes and then you have to edit it every single time, and that's just like, it takes forever. I don't want to do that. I want to, you know, I want to play the dress-up game. So what I would recommend, if you try doing any dolls yourself after a while, or if you're not even watching this but somehow retain the information, I'd recommend just like using the white space. You don't have to build the doll in the square, fuck that. Just use the whole white space on the whole thing, like you can see right here, and just build a bunch of dolls across the whole thing, make sure they're spaced out, and then use print screen after you're done, take it into your whatever program, and then you can just edit them all at once. You can cut them into different images, you can edit out all the white space at once, and it saves you time. That way you're not going back and forth between the editors like every 5 minutes. I personally prefer doing that. Sort of getting to the end here, and I know this video was literally just a ramble and you probably learned nothing because you probably know more than I do, but it's fun. It's really fun, and I would recommend this if you're creative who's in a burnout, or if you just like making things and just like doing fun things like this. I'd really recommend making dolls. I really would. I mean, you can pick what style you like the most. You don't have to use the doll maker I use, and that's the fun of it, is you can use whatever doll maker you think looks the coolest or the cutest or the funnest or whatever, and you can use them for whatever you want, because that's the whole point. Just make sure that you don't claim them as your own, because that's stupid. And yeah, just make dolls and have fun doing it. And you can, like I said, use the links in the description to actually like go to some of these sites and use them, because the Wayback Machine is fantastic. We love the Wayback Machine. It saves our souls. And you can share your creations and make them really cool. And you know, I'm not on social medias, so you can't really share them to me, 'cause I don't use Twitter and all that crap. But if you do use the doll maker, you know, you should tell me in the comments and tell me which one you like the most, and you know, stuff like that. It's fun. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And hopefully just watching the time-lapse was fun, and being able to learn about this magical hobby that I wanted to share. So, you know, thanks for sticking around till the end of this nonsense. I gotta go record Tomodachi Life today, because I haven't recorded it in like 2 days, and I miss my little gremlins. And maybe I'll add a new character today. Who knows? But for now, I will see you in the next video. Stay groovy. Have fun watching the rest of this time lapse, and I will see you in the next one. Stay groovy and go make some dolls.